myself in the community. I had to basically fend for myself, think on my feet, be aware of all the manipulations and different things that's taking place, in the community, especially towards young black youths. Had to be aware, police officers and things of that nature, and just trying to stay alive. Almost lost my life at 13. I had a fist fight with a guy. He came back and tried to kill me. It was, because at 13, life is questionable. Life is just new. You basically seeing it really for the first time, really. Especially if you like a youth that's just come out of the house at 13, parent guidance, nobody really bothering you and trying to see what you're doing. It gives life a special meaning. Like, I'm free. I'm on my own. I can do what I want to do. And,
Yeah.
having that fight and the guy coming back to take my life changed my whole mentality about life at that particular time at 13. It allowed me to see actually what was happening in the world that was around me and how did we handle, our situations as individuals. How do we handle our disputes? And a lot of times in my community, most disputes was handled through violence, right? When you get locked up and you go to court, they got the mediation thing going on. None of that's going on, in the communities that I was growing up in. There's no one coming in doing a mediation, right? So even going to court was a new, just a very new experience for me because you don't really see that solidarity. I never saw that solidarity in my community, but I'm able to see solidarity in systems when I actually got caught up in different systems. But we could talk about, those things that, I just wanted to show a glimpse, what happened, to my life when I was a young man. And, fending for myself, not having those support systems at all, really no one to really talk to or basically try to get an understanding of actually what's happening. Most of these things I actually had to do on my own. I had to process most of the things that I've learned, in my life on my own.
And that's pretty like that's as real as it gets there, though. To be honest, I mean, especially at a young age.
Yeah,
You said what,
yeah,
13? 13 starting,
13.
and then
Yeah, just starting out.
on top of it, living out there in New York City, out there in New York. I can only
Yeah,
imagine just growing up out there what it was like. I mean, you see so many movies, it kind of gives you a description of what happens, what takes place out there, but to actually hear it
that's not
firsthand
even icing
now,
on the
it's
cake.
like,
That's not even icing on the cake. All those movies, they watered down. They try to give man, some type of idea what's actually happening. But I've learned something, along the way during my journey that you can't remake real time. You can't remake real time. You can make as many movies as you want to. You can do as many documentaries as you want to. Do as many films as you want to. But you can
yeah,
never
without a doubt.
go back to the real moment to see the truth of what that time is. Editing, you're doing take one, take two, take three, all that. That's not happening in real life.
No.
There's no take one, take two, take three, bro. A lot of times, a lot of my friends, they didn't make it out of the communities, for many different reasons. They never made it out of the communities, so I think that they do our societies a disservice by using, the betrayers that they've been using to basically try to pinpoint what urban communities may look like in a certain region, you know, and try to give the world that would never see it for themselves physically a glimpse into the unknown. And that glimpse, actually limits, or takes away the full impact of that situation that they're actually looking at on TV.
Yeah,
Now it becomes entertainment.
I could kind of tell you just like a little taste of like my first experience in the city kind of helped me see stuff differently. And thankfully, because I had people from the city that were kind of helping me.
Mm-hmm.
But he said,
Yeah.
me and my buddy happened to be out in downtown Pittsburgh one time. We was just out walking, out sightseeing. And somebody, from the city actually kind of came up to us and gave us some guidance. He said, hey, don't be looking up at the skyscrapers. Don't be looking at the buildings. And we looked at him like, why, man? That's the most beautiful part. And then he would go on to say it. He said, well, there's people in the city that are actually looking for people like you to be looking up like that. They see you looking up at the skyscrapers, the buildings, man. You're gonna be a target on your back, and they're gonna rob you. They're gonna pick you up.
That's correct.
And I was like so
Correct.
thankful that he came out and actually was willing to tell us that, and kind of gave us some pointers around the city when just being there. He was like, hey man, I'm just looking out for you guys. I don't want you to have a terrible experience here, but there
Yeah,
is people
definitely.
like that here that are looking
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, and that just shows you that the movie could never do a society. You'll go in a situation, you just run into somebody, you'll make split second decisions.
Hold on,
When
hold
you
on.
go into
Wait,
these different systems,
wait.
yeah.
Can you kind of repeat what you just said? Like you were chopping a little bit back there.
I,
I couldn't hear you.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, I was just saying that when you go into communities that you've never been in, you know, it's not a movie. It's real life, right? And sometimes things they happen. You have to make a split second decision on your life on what you need to do. And I think that in my community, those split second decisions are basically a lot of times life and death. So when you really, when people are really trying to get a clear glimpse of communities they've ever been in, especially urban communities, they don't see that life and death, model there at all times. It's like fluctuating, just waiting for you to grab it, waiting for you to turn this corner or talk to that person. You know what I'm saying? Like your life could just change in an instant, you know, because of the cultural environment that has been created, that has been crafted, and it is really difficult for every man and woman, to escape these different traps.
Yeah,
Right?
and for like perfect example is this coming from a smaller community, not being from the city or anything. You get used to being in a small town where you're used to you're just able to walk around freely, and you have no care in the world. You don't have to look over your shoulder, and you're actually able to walk up to people and greet them, like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" Give them
That's
that
right.
and everything. But it's a whole different, like you said, it's a whole different world once you get out into the city. People are, you're entering people's territories and everything, and it's all different out there.
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen something where you want to be aware of communities you go into that doesn't have a lot of tools and resources that you are used to having. You know, and I think that's what happened in these communities. A lot of tools and resources that other communities are afforded are not in our communities. So this is why a lot of time, idle minds, idle minds guys just start just doing whatever because they don't have that structure, they don't have those principles that are needed within the core of every society, not one particular society, but every society has to basically be the framework, I'm saying, for what the governments or whoever runs over these systems are saying how people are supposed to live. You can't live the way that you're instructed to live without the proper tools and resources to live in that way. So, for instance, if I'm supposed to live with a smile, every day I'm supposed to just smile, right?
Yeah,
You know, if I go outside and I don't see nothing worthy of a smile, I'm not going to smile.
that's true.
You understand? You just can't tell me to smile. Right? It has to be something that's worthy for me to smile. It's really, I think that it's just so, these systems are so perpetual and taking nature that we don't even pay attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
We're seeing so many systems that's robbing life that it's so traumatic that we're just blocking it out. Like it's not even there. Like we didn't even just see that took place over there. Right? I never even heard that. Well, no one's I never heard that language before. Like somebody speaking French now, right? Because the systems are doing so much damage that you and I, as life forces, they call you white, they call me black. At the end of the day, you and I, as life forces, are in jeopardy because of the systems that they're creating. And it's like a bike. A bike is a system. Somebody created a bike as a system. Does the bike care who jumps on it and pedal?
No.
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 No. Anybody can jump on that bike and take off. Anybody.
Without a doubt, man.
You understand? So with systems, they have a life of their own. They move when they move, and whoever's in their way is gonna get eaten alive. Doesn't matter who you are, no matter where you come from, how much money you have, or whatever. If you get in front of some of these systems, they will show you what life really looks like.
And that's just putting that really out there. It's like, wow, could you don't get caught up in that mess. Rule number one: don't get caught up in that system.
Yeah, you don't want to be lost. You don't want to be lost in life. And this, I guess, has been my journey. It goes back to my journey. Not being lost. In life. Not being lost. According to systems or according to proxies that have been created. According to philosophies and notions that's out there, not to fall in line with those things, right? To actually start seeing what is taking life and what is providing life. Right? So I've been through many different challenges, in my life. So I've been in prison, I've been on parole, but I navigated past all those things. I was in prison. I was doing workshops and trainings and facilitating and mentoring other brothers and things of that nature. Speaking to correctional officers and counselors about their psychology and how they think and what's their purpose of actually being there. Actually start breaking down some of the systematic harm that they actually place out there. And the first harm is to separate you and I from being beings. So now I'm a man. I come into prison. You're a man. You worked as a correctional officer. Automatically, you're greater than me, and I'm less than you.
It's great.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what's causing the harm. Because yes, if you do commit a crime or you do something that you're not supposed to do, there are consequences to it, right? But the consequences of it should not ever really be like a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't lose your life because you went and bought a bag, stole a bag of chips, or you stole a car. Like you shouldn't lose your life over things of this nature. But like I said, the system doesn't really care. Like it doesn't, has no favoritism. It's not respect. There's no respect of a person. So at the end of the day, the system is going to eat you alive. It's going to spat you out, and it's not going to care what's going to happen to you.
But the positive experience out of all this, though, is everything that you learned, everything that you've gone through. You can share that with everybody else and pass
That's
that
right.
knowledge, that wisdom to others.
That's correct. That's correct. It's about passing on that torch and letting other men and women know that they have the right to survive. They have the right to be in control of their own destinies, what path they want to take, and how they want to live. Right? It's understanding that we are, like my organization, I'm the data. Right? We are the data of our change. We execute change in our lives. we bring forth those statistics, those data that they're using to either release us, you know what I'm saying, or to capture us, right? We are the individuals that's actually doing that. And my path is actually looking at systems, you know, as far as like any system, doesn't matter. I've worked in different systems. I've worked with HIV and AIDS. I've worked with the homeless population. I've worked with people coming out of prison, you know. So doing that type of work, it allowed me to see, you know, how people are affected, you know, and what people really need to move past certain things that's taking place, right? What is it that they actually need? So if I go into an HIV and AIDS organization, there are many men and women there that have a death wish. They think, oh, I got HIV, I'm not going to survive, you know, I'm going to die. You know, they start taking on certain type of energies like, well, I got it, I'm going to give it to other people, you know, and this is where professionals like us coming at, where we actually sit these individuals down, we have groups to say, listen, you can't do this type of thing. You can't go out there and give it to somebody because you got it. That person didn't give it to you, right? You know, you got to have compassion. You have to, you know, relearn actually how to teach each other, you know, and work with each other. Because without that, it's going to be a lot of friction, a lot of things that I see that people are trying to eradicate. It's still going to be in place when a lot of us are no longer here. They're still going to be here.
And what would you say? What would you say is like the hardest thing that you deal with when it comes to talking to people with AIDS and HIV? What is like the toughest question that you come across all the time?
It always goes back, you know, to self-worth. It always goes back to, you know, will this, you know, disease take my life? You know, will it, you know, rob me from my family? Will it, you know, just take me, make me think that I'm useless and I'm worthless? You know, but I think the hardest conversations I have, especially with HIV, is people come back positive. That was, whew, that was overwhelming. You know, people coming back and you got to tell them, yo, HIV positive. That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, that's a lot. And you have to be able to, after these conversations and after these diagnoses, you have to be able to, you know, take care of yourself now. You know, you have to basically cater to you, you know, and start cleansing, you know, a lot of the things that's taking place with you off you. And as a leader, you know, dealing in, you know, social justice, you know, dealing with the criminal justice system, I've seen that leaders are a lot of times taken alive. They go into different spaces and they want to do their best. They want to advocate. They want to hold those signs. You know, they want to speak their truth, right? Because that's why they're there.
Yeah.
And if you go into these spaces and the leaders that are at the forefront of these movements, they don't have a collective whole mentality as far as the economical wealth, you know what I'm saying, and the social power of sharing those two entities, then 90% of those individuals that's on those movements are going to be discarded once the goal is achieved. They're not bringing no one to the table. They're not, they're not, signing and giving checks under the table for an outstanding job. They're not putting the leaders that help them get on these platforms onto platforms themselves. Right? So when we create these movements out here, we have to look at a lot of these movements dealing with social justice. I don't care if it's homelessness. I don't care if it's Rikers Island. I don't care if it's dealing with the gun violence, police brutality, whatever these different things that people are using to bring about awareness and bring about changes. When people, sorry. Wow, what happened?
You all right?
Oh, sorry, y'all got yeah. I'm sorry. I had call there. I got to pull. Let me put do not disturb. I don't know what happened. Hold on. All right. Yeah. So when these systems, when they break apart, then everything goes back, to normal. And this is what I meant by that. 2 years ago, I went to help an individual run for a campaign. He's running for district attorney for Manhattan, and I was at this event, and they was talking about clothes rackets, clothes rackets, clothes rackets. This is basically been actually the proverb for a couple of years now. And I remember talking to an older white lady. She had to be like 80 years old. And she said, I remember when I was 16 and we was also marching from the Clothes Rackets Alley.
I mean, how was you feeling in that moment, though? How are
I
you
was,
feeling?
I was like, is this for nothing? Right? Are we starting this whole movement again to close Rikers Island for no reason?
Yeah.
The lady said they were trying to close Rikers Island over 50 years ago, and she's back on the same platform to close Rikers Island 50 years later with new spirits and new hearts and new minds in the land. And this thing is still here. It's still sitting here. It's still eating people alive. It's still making trillions of dollars in the land, and it's not bringing forth any life. It's only bringing forth death, and it's still here 60, 50 years later. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That shows you that the systems and those that say the power that be, they want to continue with the harm that they have created. They see the harm there. It's evident. Right? But we making money from this. Families' names are established in history because they're associated to ownership with Rikers Island or any other type of prison that they have created. Right?
Yeah.
We're looking at things that have nothing to do with the model of life. Nothing to do. It's basically like if I get 5 hamsters and put them in a cage, and I put one piece of meat in that cage, what are the 5 hamsters going to do?
You were preaching right now, man.
Right? So now these 5 hamsters, they're going to go ham for that one morsel of food. And this is what they're doing in communities. They're putting just enough food, a little bit of food, right? A little bit of substance, a little bit of employment, a little bit of that, right? Just enough to say, oh, there ain't no crisis going on. Everything is cool down there. You don't see that man riding right there in that Tesla? Right? It's an illusion.
But I would say here's a perfect example right now to go with this. Is think about what just happened just now. Minimum wage went up. Everybody's pay started going up everywhere else. But what happened everywhere else? The grocery store, everywhere else. The prices went up. A lot of people are thinking, oh, this is good, But the system really is saying, we didn't really do nothing for you. It's just everything's the same. Everything's just a little bit more. You got a little bit more, so did everything else. Everything's
That's
still
right.
the same, though.
That's right.
Perfect
Everything is
example
the
right now.
same. Perfect example. Perfect example. So as we seek it to move forward, we always taking these steps backwards.
Yep.
Right? And as beings and as men, right, no man sets out to fail. Right? When a man goes on a journey, he wants to achieve his goal. He wants to achieve his purpose. The fact that Rikers Island is still open after so many actions against it for centuries is phenomenal. It is a testament of the times on how one man can create a harmful system, attach it to other men to allow it to run like a well-oiled machine. And even if you put a wrench in the middle of it, it's still going to break the wrench and keep it going. Now there are billions of men want this one man to close. The one man that created the system, billions of men are telling this one man to close the system because it's harmful against life, and he will not do so.
Nope. It's all money, man.
It's all money. It's all money. And it's looking at the political environment. Like one of my colleagues is actually, she's running for political office, Shawana Vaughn. She's running for the 70th District Assembly in Harlem. And the 70th District Assembly actually deals with the passing, of laws that will come into a community that will actually benefit the community. So say for instance, youth centers, proposal may come across the 70th district desk, whoever that leader is, about a youth center that's important. And he said, oh, nah, man, that's going to cut down my budget for the year. He's going to throw it off the table. So now the children, when they come out of school, they don't have a youth center to go to. So now they're out in the streets fighting, stabbing each other, joining gangs, and doing other type of, things that's really going to take away their lives from them. But the district leader in that district chose not to put a youth center there, so he could continue to sacrifice the people in the community, so he or she could continue to get the tools and resources that they need to basically, increase their lives and make their lives on a greater level.
And right now, I think, like, as we talk more about this, I think right now, like, the watcher listener who's, really, you need to step up in your community to help these guys out, man, to help out the younger crowd and really help them, make better decisions so we can defeat this pattern that's been going on and on and on. And it will continue to go on, but let's try to be that one person that tried to make the difference.
Yeah, we've been fighting, man. We've been fighting. I ran across a lot of different leaders that's been out here. They've been fighting, man. They putting their foot to the ground, man. They beating the pavement, man. They screaming, with their bullhorns, and letting society know about what's really happening, out here, and what a lot of these things they have constructed are doing, against us as people, right? And when I was in prison, I was in Clinton down in Mora, I was in all type of different prisons, and I saw every nationality under the sun inside prison. There's never been one prison I went to and I did not see every nationality. I've always seen every nationality in every single prison I ever went into. So the other nations that believe that they're safe, you know what I'm saying, because they're not being pinpointed, they better come out of that delusion, because they are not safe. You have systems or these different small towns that need to eat off of other towns in order for them to survive, right? And what happens when one system has to eat another system to survive? Would it stop? When does the system ever say, you know what, I'm hungry, I don't want nothing else more to eat, I don't want nothing else to drink no more, I'm good?
Yep.
When did that take place?
That's everywhere, man.
It's not taking place. No system is going to stop itself from eating. If you make $2,000 a week, what day you going to come and say, you know what, I don't want $2,000 no more? Yeah, y'all can keep it.
So I don't think nobody's gonna turn that.
Yeah, see. So it's the same thing when you're looking at, like a homeless system or parole officers or prison systems. That's the notion, right? Is that it accumulates the money. So when a correctional officer looks at the job, she's looking at her light bill, gas bill, her rent, food she gotta buy, car note, different things. She's not looking at, damn, they got people in these fucking cells, like animals, and this guy got a jaywalking charge, or this guy had a fist fight, right? They're not looking at those things. They're looking at their quality of life. And that's what happens when you place people against systems where they have to fend for their lives. Eventually, the system is going to win. because people then they don't want to sacrifice their lives. Like even now, you have mad people that when they got COVID vaccination, some people passed away, some people didn't, but it was all a pressure cooker. Like if you didn't get the vaccination, you wasn't able to survive. You won't have no job.
I'll jump in here real quick. Just in case anybody's
Huh?
wondering, I am not vaccinated. I didn't get no shots, nothing.
Yeah.
They tried,
Me either.
they tried, but I
Yeah,
looked at it.
I didn't do it.
I looked at it from a different perspective. I seen it as like, okay, this is kind of being forced on us. Why? Why they want us
Hmm.
to, do this? We have dealt with so many other things in the past, and all of a sudden they want us to. It's mandatory. You have to do it. And I'm like,
Correct.
no, I ain't doing it. I ain't
Hmm.
getting those shots. Plus, now that I haven't done it, and I've seen like so many other people, and I'm just for the record, I'm not against anybody that has gotten it. That's
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
That's your choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
for
their
me,
choice. Yeah.
I've seen so many people taking the shot and just falling ill to it, or even got to the point where near death, or even passed away themselves,
That's
just
correct. My
because they
friend
thought,
died
like,
from it.
hey, this is gonna help me. Like, no, it's not, man.
Hmm. Yeah, but it was see, but what they did was that they did the economical pull. They used economics against the vaccine. You know what I'm saying? And this is what they have been doing with all these different systems is using the economics, you know what I'm saying, to basically fuel the systems and to keep the systems going by feeding it with the economics, you know. And as we're looking at these different realities taking place, we're going to see so many different changes taking place where they're going to eradicate a lot of these different movements that's actually taking place. They're going to try to move like different leaders out of the way because I guess they really believe in the systems that they have created. These systems of harm that they've created, I mean, in the name of social justice, right? They are not in the name of social justice. They are in the name of harm. You know what I'm saying? They are called social harm. They are not social justice. You know what I'm saying? Justice means it means peace. You know what I'm saying? Justice means situations have been, dealt with in a peaceful, you know what I'm saying, enlightening manner. That's what justice means. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean enslavement. It doesn't mean entrapment. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean systematic. That's not what justice means. So even though even in the movement they're playing games calling it social justice, and there is no social justice because the only way it could be social justice if it's a society is actually the one that made the ultimate decision pertaining to a system. Society is not making the ultimate decision pertaining to a system, so it's impossible for that system to be called itself social justice.
Yeah, and really, like, what's crazy about the whole thing is just like think about it like this: for a little while, a couple of months, they were saying, "Get vaccinated, get vaccinated." Now, stay away from each other. And then all of a sudden, it disappeared. It's gone. Now everything is kind of. I think it got to the point where people are just tired of dealing with they're seeing no results from it, or so they're like,
Mm-hmm.
we're just gonna go back to what we was doing, man. And
Yeah,
sure enough, since then, I don't hear nothing about anything anymore. Is it?
yeah,
Think about that.
woo. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that has been, this has been a trying time for a lot of people. I say a lot of things on, LinkedIn. I make my different posts and stuff like that. And my task is just, put information out there for individuals to really contemplate, and really, start paying attention to actually what's actually taking place. Because, you can always believe the hype. Somebody can tell you something and you can believe it. It doesn't mean that it's true, you know. And I always want, the different leaders that's out here to understand. This is one of my messages to different leaders. I've always talk about this, and that's to understand who they are, what their purpose is, what power that they bring into the room, and actually why are they in the room, right? And really open up their third eye to see who's in the room and why these entities are in the room. Because the places I've been in at, it's the people that's in the room are the ones that's stopping the progress from moving forward. Right? And you don't want decisions made in the room. You want decisions to come outside the room, right? So they could be implemented. If the decisions never come outside the room, how are we going to know what they are? How are we going to know what's to come?
Exactly.
We won't know. Okay? So are they hiding decision-making processes? They're not letting the leaders know what decisions they're making. They're not bringing leaders to the table and let them know about what's happening in these different atmospheres and spaces. Then a lot of these leaders need to start paying attention to actually what's happening around them and actually how their leadership is being, misguided, right? To the point where it's not going to fulfill what they came there for. And so I definitely want to say this on my path. I've seen a lot of people see my path. They've seen things I've been doing, my motivational speaking and advocacy and things of that nature. But I do want to say this, that you can be strong. You can be a very strong leader, and you can perceive yourself to be a very strong leader. But pay attention to the leadership values, and fundamentals that's around you that may come against your leadership. Pay attention to what that leadership is and what it's going to mean if you hold on to it and you protect it for the next 20, 30, 40 years. How many other people are you going to be able to protect and save and bring about awareness if you chose to hold on to your leadership and not get swallowed up and pushed out the room?
Preach.
Right?
Preach it.
Right? So I want these leaders, to stop playing leadership games and really get serious about what this leadership they're doing is about and what it's going to entail, and don't allow no entity, no man, no woman, no system to take away their leadership powers and tell them that they're not great enough to be in those rooms and to be in those systems and to change the frameworks of what they created for our societies to witness, to hear and to live and to go through. Right? At the end of the day, I don't know what people thinking out here. I don't know what people's lives consist of. It's not my business to understand anybody's life, right? I only could understand my perception, right? And my perception that I see is that life is to be able to fulfill yourself, right? Get to a level of inner peace, get to a space where you will be content and happy to transition to your next spaces, right? This society here, where so much harm is going on and so much harm is being promoted, who's going to be comfortable to move forward? Who's going to say, I did the things I had to do, for my power or whatever you believe in, but I did the things that I needed to do, and now it's time for me to go, and I'm gonna go in peace, and everything's gonna be cool with me, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be blessed, right?
Yeah.
Like, who's thinking on this type of level, right? So I say that to say this: the leaders that's moving in these structures that have to be eradicated. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These systems that they have created have to be eradicated. They might not be eradicated in my time because I see the pushback. They might be eradicated in my sons and my daughters or my sons and sons' daughters' time. I don't know. But I do know, according to life itself, that these systems have to be eradicated. Rikers Island, this homeless system that they got, people sleeping on the streets in cardboard boxes, all type of weirdness. That's a weird system. They got all type of abandoned buildings all through the communities, and they got people on the streets under homelessness because they say they can't pay a bill, right? They don't got, do they have jobs on every corner in the communities? No, they do not, right? Going through a pandemic has showed us how fragile the economical system, job market really was. So many people were affected, know what I'm saying, by the job market and what they were doing and actually how they was handling themselves on a professional level, right? There, these systems that we lock ourselves into, they don't cater to us, right? I go work for a job for 5 years, a pandemic come, the job gonna say, yo, listen, man, I see you still here. Here go a $20,000 bonus. If I see you still here, get your stuff in order, man. I mean, I want you to be here. I know it's a difficult time. I know it's scary. I know it's a life and death mile that's going on. Let me, you know what I mean, hit you off the way you hit me off all these years for working for nothing, right? Because according to salary, if you make 40,000 a year, that means the real salary is 400,000 a year.
Yeah.
So they get the surplus of what you don't get. You only get the 40. They get the remaining balance. And they still don't come back and say, here, take this as a bonus. You know, thank you for helping us feed our children and let us go on vacations every week and get jets and all type of things, different lifestyle that you don't have. You know, take a little piece of what you have given us. Right? Our leadership that's going into, our leadership is going to the nonprofits. Our leadership is in the nonprofits that's on these advocacy movements, that's dealing with these leadership programs, right? You just can't be there for 2-3 years and then get wiped out, and it's as if you was never there in the first place.
And what I mean, you're touching on a really important topic right now, is because with everything that happened with COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs, man, that they depended on, and they thought like, hey, this is where I'm going to retire at, and then just like that, they were out the door. And you're touching on a very, very important topic right now.
Yeah, because there's no safety. There's no safety. You know, they say safety in numbers, but if you work in a job for 10 years, that 10 years doesn't provide safety. There's no safety in that number. There's no safety in the 15. There's no safety in the 20. There's no safety in any of those things. You know what I'm saying? No man's knocking on your door and find out what's happening with your children during a pandemic. You know what I mean? No man's trying to increase you. Even when the pandemic first started, the churches was going door to door and knocking on their members' door asking for tithes because the church was closed. So they were sending members to people's households during a pandemic, asking for tithes. Instead of going to the households of the people and asking them what they need in exchange for the tithes that they're paying them for the last 15 years, what do they need now in exchange for the tithes?
Yeah. Preaching the truth, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really, you know, from what I've been seeing, that leaders are being knocked off like dominoes, knocked off, and they get knocked off by one another. You know what I'm saying? You got this one little room, and nobody want to share the space. They don't want to share inequality. They want to share the inequality. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to make sure that everybody eat from the same plate. You gotta have your plate. I gotta have my plate. She gotta have her plate. That's not leadership. These movements that we're moving on, these movements that we're moving, need high concentration to bring forth change. High concentration cannot come without resources, tools, and money.
Let me step in here real quick. That guy that's right now that's about to click off this video, before you judge him for his opinion, do your research. Do your research and look at the facts. All right, you can continue.
Yeah. So the working models that we have, if they continue the way, from what I've seen, if they continue the way that they're gonna continue, then those people that even root, you know what I'm saying, for these systems and for these structures will eventually pay the price for rooting for these systems and structures. You know what I'm saying? When nobody else is in its path, it's gonna come for those, you know what I'm saying, that been rooting for it. And I want men to know that Don't think that any of these systems that come against life is for your benefit, because you also are life. So look at any system that's going against life and see how it benefits you if you was a part of that system. If you was connected to that system, how would it benefit you as a life source? Because I think we're forgetting that we are life sources, you know what I'm saying? And we're thinking that we are, models, plastic models. We thinking that we these makeshift men that they call them white, black, and indifference, right? We thinking that we these weird concepts and ideologies, but we are not none of these things. We are actually life. We are life forces. So when we come and find ourselves in these spaces and we find ourselves in these systems and we find ourselves under these judgments, you know what I'm saying? If one man can accept the judgment, that means all men should be able to accept the judgment. You want a man to accept the fate that you don't want to accept for your own self and for your own children. But you want another man to accept it for his children and for his fate. You don't want to be a part of this structure. You don't want to be in Clinton Dannemora at the age of 16, you know what I'm saying, for a makeshift case, you know what I'm saying, where you got 2 years, only got 2 years, and you in there with people that got 100 to life, you know what I'm saying? No, you don't want to be in any of these spaces. This is what these systems do. They don't have regard for any form of life. Any man that thinks a system that takes away life has regard for life has deceived himself.
And you get me pumped up, man.
Right? Yeah, because
I'm ready to jump out of
we
this
have to
seat.
stop playing. We have to really stop playing this game that we're playing with all these differences that we're doing, with all these different separations, right? We got all these different separations, but nothing to show for it, right?
Yeah.
Who's okay? This nation here said they're the most powerful nation out of all the nations. Okay, if they're the most powerful nation out of all the nations, why aren't they able to eradicate harm? Why aren't they able to destroy things in the land that will eventually turn around and destroy them, like bullets?
I
They on
mean,
news today.
right now, I just want to say, like, that quote just keeps popping in my head. Divided we fall, but united we stand. And that's what we need to get
That's
back to.
correct.
That's what we need to
That's
get
what we
back
need. We need to get back to moving things that are not for our overall benefit. Forget who benefits from this and forget who benefits from that. Is it the benefit of us? I'm gonna give you an example. I went to Rikers Island one time. We was doing an advocacy. Okay, brother. So they put us in these jumpsuits that they used to put our ancestors in the 1940s with the number on the jumpsuit and everything like that, right? They put shackles on my arms, shackles on my feet, right? And they asked us to demonstrate what our ancestors was going through, and we sell on these blocks, these selling blocks. They were selling us as slaves at that time, so they had these selling blocks. So we sell on these selling blocks, and I'm sitting here, I'm standing there, I'm doing my advocacy, and this white guy, he's taking a picture of me, and then the next thing you know, he just drops the picture and just give me a look of death. And I'm standing here and I'm like, okay, well, this is the advocacy movement. Like, this is not slavery time. This is, we're only doing demonstrations. Like, we're not actually slaves, right? And the look that he gave me and the energy he gave me, as if I was one of his slaves. As if if he had the right to kill me, he would have killed me, right? And that was that's when I stopped playing games with advocacy. That's when I realized that this is a very serious matter.
serious stuff.
This is not, yeah, this is serious stuff. This is not about you going out there getting rich and you establishing a legacy and all type of stuff like that. It's not about those things, right? This is life and death. A lot of people do not want a lot of these things to take place, and bring forth changes. Because they won't have all the benefits that they have. You won't be able to live the life you have if they take away these things over here. You won't have that life. So the life that you may live and the life that you may be comfortable with, understand that another man may have been sacrificed for you to have that life.
Yeah, and that, I mean, really, even that right there, you should never be comfortable. You should never be comfortable, because if you're comfortable, you're not living life. You got to be
That's right.
uncomfortable to be living life.
That's correct.
You're preaching
That's
so much
correct.
today, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because listen, through my path and my journey, I met so many beautiful people, man. So many beautiful people. Whether people felt they've been harmed, whether people felt like they came out of prison, whether people felt like they had drug problems or whatever. I met some very beautiful souls out here, right? And it got nothing to do with anybody's race, anybody's culture, anybody's religion, or anything. I've met every nation under the sun. I've met many, many people, many, many nations. I don't help Africans, Haitians, white, black, anything you could think about. I've been there. I've helped so many different people,
Now,
right?
my
And
question
it
for you,
comes down,
my
yeah.
question for you is this: out of all the people you have met, what is something that you find as a repeating pattern with every person that you meet?
Hmm. Yeah, most of the people I meet is like they just they really want to find
We're
their
all
place in the world.
the answer is we're all after the same thing. Everybody I've
Yeah,
ever
well,
met,
yeah,
it's the
it's the
same
same
thing.
thing. Yeah,
Everybody's chasing the
yeah. They
same
want to
thing.
have that peace. They want to have that peace. They want to have that comfort. They want to know that they're safe, right? They want to know that they're safe. I sit back and I see like wow, I could have done this in my life, or I could have done this in my life. I should have been on this level. But I see that everything that takes place for its purpose, right?
And
We
really,
grow when we're supposed to grow.
yeah, and the beautiful part about it is once you begin to learn and understand how it works, is you know that you have control. You can
That's right.
change everything in your world
That's right. That's correct. That's correct.
just
That's
by
correct. And
that.
that's when we need, yeah, it's just what it is. Yeah, that's what we need to know, like, who we are when we come into these spaces and what power, do we have? What power are we bringing, to these spaces, what I mean, to bring forth this change, right? Don't go and do an advocacy. You don't go do a march if you're not trying to bring forth change. No one's going to get out their bed and do an advocacy and a march for no reason, for straight fun, if they wasn't adamant about change, right? So some of these spirits, men, women that do not relate to these individuals going out there, and fighting for social justice, need to tap into themselves a little deeper and say, why would somebody take time out their day to do that? If it wasn't important, why would somebody get out their bed to go and do that action right there?
Exactly. And I mean, that would be stupid just to
That
be
would be
doing it for
stupid.
nothing.
Yeah, that didn't make no sense, right? It's like I did the advocacy with Justice USA to close Rikers Island. We was by we was in Manhattan by this library that de Blasio, who was the mayor at the time, you know, had to go and vote, and de Blasio chose not to face any of the advocates. He actually came there in a helicopter and went through the roof or something like that, and then did his vote and then left the same way. He never even confronted and talked to the people as if the issue that we was addressing was an oxymoron. That was a serious issue that we was actually addressing, and he evaded the whole movement. As many other leaders, before him, have evaded these movements, have evaded these hard pressed questions, right? They don't want the answer to resonate with them. Because once the answer resonates with them, they have to bring forth a solution, right? So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You just see the guy just got fired. LT, he was an assembly guy. They caught him for stealing funds, you know. So he was one of those guys that was also asking to help us, close Rikers Island, and he chose not to. And that was a sad thing because now he's no longer there. So he had power to help, people change some of the laws, that allow, Rikers Island and other systems to continue. And he chose not to. And the next thing you know, he got caught in some fraudulent act, and now he's out of the office. So we ever needed him, he will never be there for us. Right? So it's understanding like this thing is so serious that I look at it, if I can't go 100%, I don't want to go at all.
But hold on, before we go any further. Notice how when the leader gets taken out, you don't hear nothing from him afterwards.
That's what I've been saying. I've been seeing it over and over. It's like a revolving door. I'm serious, Chris. A revolving door. As soon as the leader gets to that leader, his plateau, his or her plateau, everybody else pushing to the wayside. They're gonna go do what they gotta do now. They're on a whole new mission now. They doing other things. They selling Pepsis now. They're part of Pepsi Cola company. You know what I'm saying? It's something totally different now. They're not that same person that was walking with you down that block screaming, for change, right? As soon as they get their funding, as soon as they get their pocket blessed, as soon as they get their bank account filled up, the leaders that's out here still trying to make sure these things happen, they all dissolve. They all disperse. They all going back to work. A friend of mine came to me the other day and said, yo, I got a case management job for you. I said, case management? I don't want a case management job. I said, I'm a leader. I don't want to do that, And he was on the same platform I was on. And once the platform got dissolved, he had to go work for somebody else. I'm going to work for somebody else. She went to work for somebody else. That person went to work for somebody else. But the issue that we was all addressing still stands in the water.
It's crazy when you really, really like think about like just deep down. Like you said, when it comes to just money, man. The leader disappears.
Yeah.
He gets that bank account. They pay him with the hush money. You're like, shh.
Yep.
Here you go, man.
And they don't reach back out to you under the table. They don't go under the table and say, here you go, brother. You was here for me. I saw what you did for me. Here you go. Here you go, sister. I see who you were. I know who you are. Here you go. No, they want you to struggle. They want you to go through the rat race struggle, and make your way to where they at. No, they didn't make their way to where they at. You made their way to where they was at.
And a important note.
They don't realize that you pushed them there. They didn't make them. They didn't get there on their own. You pushed them into that space.
And then the ones that don't obey, you notice that they fall off. They get assassinated.
We don't see them no more.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Somehow they died magically.
That's right. Magical powers.
Okay, like what I was saying for the watcher listen right now. This is our opinions. So
that's correct.
You can believe what you want, but this isn't what we're talking about. And before you are quick to judge, I also want to add into do your research. Don't listen to what this guy's saying. Don't go and do the research, and you'll see for yourself. And
yeah, do the research. Go study criminology. If you go study criminology, you would see that according to criminology, no prison system will ever be closed. They already have a projection of how many people are going to be incarcerated in 2035. They know how many tools and resources they're going to need. They know how much money they're going to need. They know how many beds they're going to need. They know how many bodies they're going to need. They know what age group and what range they're going to need. They know what nationality they're going to need. Everything. That only things are already mapped out. All you got to do is open a book and read it for yourself. And you will see that it's already mapped out. So when you're no longer here as a white man or as a white woman or Asian man or whatever man, black man, understand if you let children down here, right, that those children now are going to be subject to those systems that you yourself approved of.
A lot of people miss that. Totally miss that.
They're not seeing
Not
it
seeing
because
it, yeah.
from what I've been seeing is that people believe that they're gonna live. They believe that their legacy is longer than 100 years.
Yep.
So they're down here playing diabolical games with life. You know what I'm saying? Creating all type of fancy, you know what I'm saying, soul crunching systems, right? That's the best way I could say it, right? For pleasure and gratification, right? And not understanding that there's a back end to this, that we all are going to go to the same place, or hopefully when we transition, we may meet each other again, some of us may not, right? But at the end of the day, we should all want to be a part of life. At the end of the day, you shouldn't separate yourself from life. You should be a part of life at all times. And the different systems that we have, they're separating people from actually being a part of one another, of actually growing one another, and and trying to build. People keep trying to sell people products and systems and stuff like that. That's what they worry about all day, selling this and selling this and selling that and selling this and selling that. All these things, it gets in the way of real leadership. You know what I'm saying? It gets in the way of what we really supposed to be doing down here. We're so caught up in cars and houses and money and things of that nature that we're not even seeing all the different harm and all the different strategies they're using to move people out of their place. You're not seeing it, right? I remember I was on parole. I was on parole one time, and it was bizarre because I was on parole. I had my own apartment. I had my own job at the time, and I was in college full time. And the woman threatened my life. Every time I came to parole, she threatened to put me back in prison.
And you were doing everything correct too.
And I was doing everything that I was supposed to do,
Yeah.
right? And then she would say things to me like, "You think you better than everybody else? You think you all fancy because you got a nice job and you got your own apartment." And I'd be like, "Yo, miss, man, I just did a lot of time. I got myself together. I came home and did what y'all said I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get a job and be a law-abiding citizen and all these different things. And as I'm doing it, you try to pull the rug out from under me, telling me I'm not supposed to do it."
All right.
So a lot of these, it's just showing you my path has brought me to a place where I got to see firsthand what people do to one another when they're in these type of structures. When people have power over one another in these nonprofits and these different leaderships. And I also got to see how leaderships that take on a persona of being entrepreneurism, right, is also just another way of accumulating tools and resources for one particular leader, not for all the leaders, but for one particular leader, right? And once that one leader get that bag or whatever they call it, you don't see the leader no more, and you don't see systems being built up for other leaders. You don't see the other leaders, things they're working on is being strategized. You don't see them in rooms where they actually be able to discuss these things with other prominent leaders and things of that nature. Get the tools and the resources and the back end and the people behind a certain project. You don't really see it like that. I don't seen a lot of men and women, that's no longer on any of these platforms, and they were phenomenal individuals. They were really profound individuals, and I don't see none of these individuals. A lot of individuals, they no longer on the platforms, and I only can mean for what I see is that they get wiped out, become discouraged, and believe like, wow, I did all this for nothing. Because I don't feel like that. You know what I mean? I've been on one or two advocacies, like I did this for nothing. Like, nothing came out of it because I'm not in that political realm, right? I got discarded from the political realm. Now I'm back trying to get somebody case manager job or facilitator job, which is something that I don't want to do, right? Something that I have felt like I surpassed. I'm moving to different things now, you know, and it's I think that is an injustice to encourage leaders, to come out of their safety zones, to come onto platforms, you know what I mean, and to advocate, you know what I'm saying, and to root for change, and then once the goal is achieved, that leader that came out of their comfort zone or stripped, you know what I'm saying, of that power that they had while they was moving around and doing their leadership and doing their entrepreneurism and having that freedom, is stripped of that freedom and thrust back into a space where they got to get resources, income and resources again. They got to go and get a job again, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, yeah, because I was on a meeting a couple of weeks ago and we were trying to do this action. And one of the guys said, "Yo, man, I'm sorry, but I don't got time like I used to have for y'all before. I'm working now." Before he wasn't working. So we, had total access to this individual, right? But once the individual's on a platform and then he gets jumped off the platform and they got to go back to working, they know most of the time they never come back to the platform.
Nope, because they got hushed.
Because they got hushed. And then they got to work and they got to pay this light bill, this gas bill, this cable bill, this rent, and all the other necessities actually that comes with this life, right? By the same token, that freedom that they experience to bring forth change is no longer there now. It has been taken, and that's what I've seen. I've seen this over and over again. That's why I'm writing my book right now. I have a book that I'm writing. It'll be coming out within the next 6 months, and it's called Permission from Others to Exist. That's the name of my book.
I'm definitely gonna read that.
Yeah, permission from others to exist. So it's showing that, and all this information, this knowledge, this wealth has come from the things that I have linked myself to. I place myself on these different platforms. I apply to go into these different nonprofits. I went into these different prison systems and did pro bono work and things of that nature, and got to find out what the women are thinking about when I'm going to Taconic and Beverly Hills, and find out what's going on with the men. When I go back into other prisons that I never was in, but when I come home, I can go back to these prisons that I have clearance and stuff like that, and I can meet these different men and women on different levels and let them see me and say, "Yo, I'm a product of your environment too. I've been in the same space as you have, right? I'm not grading you, you're not grading me. We got to do this thing together, right?" I believe one of the greatest harms in this society, especially dealing with movements that entail collectivity, is big I's and little U's. Once they start the big I's and little U's and these collective movements, there is no more movement.
Yep.
Right? Because once they wipe that person out or knock that person off, that whole movement is dissolved.
It's done.
Right? And you can't have a movement without a business. So people, understand, they think, oh, these people just out there advocating. A lot of people that's out there advocating, some of these people do have nonprofits. Some of these people do have LLCs that's incorporated. They are business people, right? Don't get it twisted, right? These people out here are professionals to bring forth the changes that we know that we need in this society. No one needs big prisons on their blocks. No one. No one needs a mental health institution on every corner of their block. No one needs any of that. I was watching the news the other day, and they try to put a shelter in Chinatown. Chinatown, and people out there picketing. They said, "We don't want no more shelters in our community." I asked them, "Why you don't want no more shelters?" They said, as soon as you bring the shelters, you also bring the guns, you also bring the murder, the
Guns, the murders.
assault, the robbery, and
Guns, robbery.
drugs.
So he's preaching the truth, and they cutting his signal off right now. They're cutting him off because he's preaching the truth. See that you was preaching the truth. That's what I was just telling them. They're preaching the truth, and they're cutting you off.
Yeah.
You hear me
You cut
now?
me off? Yeah, I hear you.
You're preaching the truth, and they cut you off.
Oh, that's cool, man. You know, that's a beautiful thing. You know, and I think that that's the reason why that these systems and everything that we trying to eradicate continue, you know, to surprise us, continue to take away things from us in society that we came down here to live. We did not come down here to be experimented on. You know what I'm saying? We did not come down here to be manipulated. You know what I'm saying? We did not come down here to be strategized. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know, and structured for someone's purpose. We not come down here for these things. I think that this is the problem where people don't want others to live and survive on the plane that they perceive they should be able to live and survive on. Right? They want people to live below them, but they want to know life. People want to know life, but they want life to live under them, but they say they want to know life. Right? Because so the only way you could do that if you're the person, the entity that created life. What life force did you create? Or your children? You didn't create them either. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know, we want to take away life in this society, but at the same time, we feel we have the right to live after we take away life. We want to take away life with our laws. We want to put crafty laws in place. You know what I'm saying? Stand your ground and all type of weird laws they got in the land. You know what I'm saying? You know, we want to create laws where, because I used to listen. Okay, I've been incarcerated. Okay, I was also in a law library. I also represented myself in court pro se, and I also know about their laws because I personally studied their laws. So when I look at their laws are a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? That all you gotta do is stretch it and pull a line out and say, look, this is my truth right here. Right? So this is the reason why these systems that you and I are fighting against, these systems that you and I do not want to see. I do not want to listen. Every day I leave my house, without question, I'm going to run into at least 10 homeless people that's going to ask me for some money. Every single day, right? I'm going to see a man sleeping on the sidewalk. I'm going to see a woman sleeping on the sidewalk. No one want to see these things. No one. So for people want to see, they want to see these things, they want to witness these things, but they don't want these things to come against them. You know, and I think that this is one of the reasons why we are going to be fighting, you know, to have our say so in humanity. We're going to be fighting for our say so in humanity. They're going to go from one thing to the next. When you look at society, you ever read history, you see that history always repeats itself, right? Always. Every man thinks that he's safe until he's no longer safe, right? That's what it is, right? The Ukrainians did not think that they're going to get murdered and annihilated and genocide in the way that they're being genocided right now in the land. They were never even considered a notion like that, but it's happening to them, right? And when you look at history and you look at the different comments, they're saying that, yo, they been was warned about these things. They been knew that they had this internal beef and conflict with Russia, but they chose not to respond the way they're supposed to respond. As a result, they're being eradicated, right? And if the other nations don't come to their aid, they might get wiped out.
I can actually agree on that. I can speak on that. I worked with a lot of Ukrainians that they were here, working at the theme park, and they would say that a lot of people would think they were from Russia, and they would get offended by that. And all this, like you said, it's been building up for years, and now that it has taken place, yeah.
right? So it's the same way with these momentums that we are creating with our domestic violence systems, homelessness systems, prison systems. These things are just, little models that are going to explode. And when I mean explode, they are going to explode. And people that think they were safe and they were protected, what I'm saying, by some invisible armor, what I'm saying, but you may call white skin or black skin or whatever you want to call it, some invisible armor that they have, they're going to find out the hard way that they have no invisible armor, that they are not invisible, that they are seen, that they see them, they're pointing at them. Get him right here. Get her right there. Because we have to think extreme, because if we don't think extreme, individuals going to be thinking higher than that, right? So we have to say what can be the worst thing that can happen, in these things that we're trying to do, and we're trying to save our societies in different ways. How do we do it? What ways that we have to think, and be able to do that? You know what I'm saying, to change and actually save our societies. I don't know, Chris. Yeah.
Okay. For the watcher listener right now, you're probably asking me, Chris, I thought this was the storytelling. I thought we was talking about a story. Like, well, we had to talk about this, man. It's all part of the story. You had to get out there. So to ease it down just a little bit, for
Yeah.
you guys, we're gonna step back just a little bit. We'll go back into a story. We'll talk about, how was your high school experience?
So I went up to I went to Lafayette High School in Bensonhurst. That was a hell of an experience.
Do tell, do tell. Let's hear
I
about
mean,
it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I've never really been around, a lot of white people. I've never really been in big communities, so like that. So when I went to high school, I traveled from Brooklyn to Bensonhurst, Lafayette High School, and it was actually a different reality check for me. Um, the culture was different, the interactions was different, like in the schools, the teachers, they were different, white teachers and stuff, so they had a different type of response. I ain't had white teachers before I went up to the school. So it also showed me also, 'cause I did have a lot of fights up in there in that school. And I had a lot of conflicts in the school when I was up in that school. And I think a lot of times because it was my skin. That was it. That was it. I didn't. It was nothing really else. It was just something different. I think that these different things craft me, to become the person I am today, to see things the way that I see things. I would actually exchange nothing. I will return nothing, um, that I experienced, that I actually went through, the things that I've actually seen. So my high school experience was decent. I survived it, but I didn't graduate. I didn't graduate. I wound up going to prison. I never graduated.
No?
No, I never graduated from high school. I actually went to prison. I got my GED, and from there when I came home, went to college. I got my bachelor's degree and stuff like that. So
Well, let's
yeah.
jump into that real quick. Like, what happened that got you locked up?
What was that case? Yeah, I had yeah, I think I had attempted robbery keys. That was attempted robbery keys that I had received, and they gave me 2 to 6. I did 2 to 6 years for that. So I wound up doing 3 years for that case.
And all right, kind of give us a taste of, since everybody kind of likes to hear about prison talk. What was it like? Going in your first day,
Oh
being fresh
man.
meat.
So my first time, that was my first time going to prison. It was my 16th birthday. I actually just turned 16 when I got locked up. I got locked up at the police waited until 12 o'clock at night to lock me up. I was 15 at the time that the crime was committed or the incident was committed. He waited to like 5 more minutes until I got 16, and then he locked me up so he could lock me up as an adult. So that was my first, connection with the criminal justice system, basically law enforcement, basically like they're not there to protect, I didn't protect me. The officer basically jacked me up. So anyway, I wound up going to Rikers Island. Rikers Island wasn't a good experience when I first went, because I had like a lot of expensive clothing and stuff like that when I went there. So people were trying to rob me for my clothes. So I got jumped a couple of times. The first time I got jumped by 20 people. And then the next time I got jumped again by 20 people. And then after that, I started connecting with people that I did know from the community, and I was able to protect myself from being jumped. And I actually was able to protect other people from being jumped. So yeah,
That does not sound pleasant at all, man. 20 people.
Yeah, and so that was a bad experience that I've seen a lot of people really get hurt. I've seen a lot of people get stabbed up, almost losing their lives and stuff like that when I was on Rikers Island. It was, I guess they try to say that Rikers Island is a lot more dangerous now, but it was dangerous back then too. It was severely dangerous back there too. People had scalpels and knives and all type of stuff, in the jail. Depending on who you get an altercation with, something can happen to you. They was really big for $150 back then. Like they cut your whole face up and give you a whole bunch of stitches and stuff. So it was really vicious back then when I was young, going to Rikers Island and basically fighting my way, out of that. So from Rikers Island, I wound up going into upstate prisons. I think I went into mid-state. I think I was in Franklin. But this was the really scary part for me. I was 16, like I said, I had a 2 to 6. I got into altercation when I was in Green Correction Facility. True story, guys tried to kill me just because they were celebrating New Year's Day. When the ball dropped, they start pulling out knives, and they try to kill me. They stabbed some other people up too. I was able to get out of it. And as a result of me almost losing my life, they sent me to Clinton Dannemora maximum security prison at 16. And yeah, I really realized then I was in trouble. Because you think like, I'm a gangster, nobody gonna mess with me. I can hold my own. But that was a reality check.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, that was like, oh wow, what? I'm in here. I'm 16 years old, and it was really scary. And my defense mechanisms went up sky high. Like if somebody says something, I say, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me, because I don't want nobody trying to manipulate me or try to take something from me, because these men, they had life plus 50 years and 60 years and 75 to life, and I'm sitting here with a 2 to 6, like. And people ask me how much time you got. Don't worry about how much. I never told nobody I had a 2 to 6 while I was in there, because I was so afraid that if they knew that I had a 2 to 6, they would think that I wouldn't fight for myself and they could take advantage of me. So that was one of the ways I protected myself by not telling nobody my time. And I was able to ease out of there. I wound up having like 1 or 2 altercations while I was there, but I didn't lose no good time or anything like that, and I was able to go home, after that third year. But um,
How was that?
it was big.
That
It
taste of
was it
freedom
was
once you got out.
Yeah, it was like a bittersweet, because my favorite cousin, the one cousin I told you I had growing up, got killed when I was in Clinton. So when I came home, I didn't have my cousin anymore. So I think that's one of the things that people should realize too. And I think I would say that to a lot of people too. They think that because they catch time and they go to prison, that is a guarantee that they're going to come out. There's no guarantee that you're going to come out of prison. I've seen many men lose their lives in there, and I've seen many men take their lives as well. Um, and also, when you go in there, you may have to consider that people that you really cared about and love won't be here when you get out.
You gotta appreciate every day, man. Another day, another blessing is what I always say.
Yeah,
Just gotta
you
be
definitely do.
appreciative and grateful just to wake up in the morning, you know?
It's true, man. And to have some type of control, over your functions is really important. When you go into these prisons, a lot of mobility, you lose that, and you lose a lot of self worth too. Some people they're able to adapt, and they're able to come home with all their faculties, but as we look into society, we're seeing that mental health has become a real serious problem, and mental health is actually coming from the prison system.
And once you was out of once you were fully out, did you still have with your guard, all the ways up? Was it like did you were how do I explain that? You were
Yeah,
kind of like tense. Did you have those moments where
yeah, I was
you
still,
would hear
yeah, I was
something like
still in that
scaring you?
spirit. Yeah, I still carry some of that energy from Clinton with me coming home because it's still that protective mode. I think that's why it's important really not to introduce yourself to things, because once you introduce yourself to something, a lot of time it's hard to break the monotony. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to introduce yourself to doing crimes. You don't want to introduce yourself to thinking on the criminal level. You don't want to introduce yourself to going into prisons because 9 times out of 10, majority of the time, a lot of individuals that get caught into those traps, they don't make it out of it. They give you the illusion that people go to prison and they come home mad, brolic, and all type of stuff. Like I said before, a lot of those things are illusions. And you gotta look at it. They have what, over 70 prisons, so you don't even know what prison that people are coming home from, right? And just the other day, somebody died in Rikers Island. So you have to see that because Rikers Island is not death row. So many people are dying on Rikers Island almost every month, and Rikers Island is not death row. They don't have a death row component in Rikers Island. But people are dying in Rikers Island every time you turn around. So I just wanted to say that to let people know, the audience, that dealing, stay far away from criminality. Stay far away from doing any type of crimes whatsoever that's going to take away and rob you of your freedom. And then you'll get to experience firsthand what people have been trying to tell you all along, that you don't want to go there and it's not a nice place, right? So the reason why I do this work, the reason why other advocates like me do this work, the reason why other leaders like me do this work, because we don't want individuals that have not experienced this to have to go through it. There's no reason why they would have to go through it. We already went through it for you. You don't got to go through it. You don't got to go through it for yourself. We went through it for you. We can tell you everything you need to know. You don't need to go nowhere. If you want to find out what prison like, you can actually bring us into a room, you know what I'm saying, and pick our brain, and we'll give you all the substance that you need.
Preach.
This is the reason why we do this work. We don't do this work so people can recognize us as leaders, so people can give us money, so we can place ourselves on plateaus. We do this work because we want to eradicate systems that's bringing forth harm against life. That's it. All this other fancy words and terminology and stuff that people using, it means nothing. This is the reason why we do this work. Because we know firsthand, those of us that have been there firsthand, we know what the loss of life looks like. We've been there. We done seen. I carried my friend Cowboy down the hallway when he caught a heart attack, and I heard my friend Cowboy take his last breath. We've been there. We've seen these things. We experienced these things. And this is the reason why we on these platforms. This is the reason why we talking our talk and doing what we're doing. Not for the world to see us and magnify us and put us on pedestal. We don't need any of your pedestals. Any pedestal that's created can be kicked down. We don't need no pedestals. We need to change systems that are harming the human body, the human mind, the human soul, the human spirit. That's what we need. You think that prison brings forth death only by a physical element? Prison also brings forth death emotionally, spiritually. I've seen many men die before they even died in those places. This is why we do this work. There's no other reason, right? This is about life, and it's about life itself. That's it. Every man want to be right. No man want to be wrong. But the way society is, we don't all got that privilege. Some of these things that's here, they're not correct. They're not right for us, right? And the way that they're formatted, they're not formatted as a renewal tool. They're not formatted for rehabilitation. They're not formatted, so you will break through barriers, and bring forth a whole nother element. They're not formatted and structured in that light. So because they're not formatted and structured in that light, they shouldn't be looked at in that light either. They shouldn't be gloated and placed on platforms either. Because they're not there for life. They're not there to make sure that every man has the right to have a full life. The other day I watched TV, the man got exonerated. After 60 years, another man exonerated. After 40 years, the other man, they say he got exonerated after 40 years, and the county didn't want to honor the court judgment of $6 million. They said they didn't have the $6 million. You know how much money they give for you being in prison? They have $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They have way more than $6 million, but because they feel that they have the right to just come and take life, they don't feel they have no responsibilities. They're not accountable for what's happening. They can just come and take it. It belongs to them anyway, right? You got a birth certificate and a social security card from their system, right? You belong to them anyway. Just come and take you anyway, and just throw you away, and they can feed off of you.
Man, I hope you guys are getting this right now. He is preaching on so much truth right now. You're gonna find this nowhere else.
Yeah, this is about, this is not about trying to be greater and bigger than the next man. This is about, being humble, being humble in life, like really, really, really humble, man. Like, how you wake up this morning, right? Did you pinch yourself to wake up? No, you did not. You did not. You know what I'm saying? You was awoken. You know what I'm saying? That's how you woke up. You was awoken.
You still have
right?
purpose. You still have purpose in this world.
That's right. You still have purpose. That's why you was woke. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Most High brought you back. You know what I'm saying? It's understanding that we need to be a lot more humble in the way that we perceive and channel in life. We need to be a lot more humble in our regards to this. I don't know no other way to say it. I've been in a system since I've been 16 years old. My first case I did 3 years. My second case they gave me 13 years, right? And when I really looked at it, and I stripped everything, I said, yo, this is for nothing. I came in here for no reason, right? Other than the fact, yeah, now I'm here now. I need to get myself together, and I need to learn some new skills. I need to learn some new ability. I need to rechannel my thoughts, and do greater things for my life, my community, and my people. This is why I'm on these platforms, right? I made that decision when I was in those places to bring my life to a different level, right? We don't have to wait to get to these places to bring our life to another level. We bring our life to level now. We don't need to go into these spaces to basically, what they would say, become woke. I'm woke now, right? No, we don't need to go into any of these spaces. None of these spaces that they created, regardless of what you feel good came out of it, no good came out of it. Because you don't know what harm was taken. You don't know what good was taken when they went in there, right? I done seen men come in humble, and I done seen them leave as murderers.
That's the truth.
So this is for the people that, we able to connect with today or tomorrow, whenever they see this, is that knowing that, just enjoying your life, and being humble with your life and appreciating your life and appreciating the lives of other people and the ability for them to be able to live and, will give you more substance for your own life. So you gotta be able to give to get more for you, right? This selfish society of locking away people for potato chips and sodas and jaywalking, all type of stuff. Yo, listen, man, right? They got way too many prison systems, way too many prison systems. Over here where I live at, they have a juvenile prison. I was in there, 2 years ago, I went to visit there. They had a 9-year-old girl in there, right? So we need to understand like how we play a major role in what takes place in society, regardless if we feel we want to get involved or not, right? We have a role in life, and that is to have life and to live life and to be life. That's our role. There's no other role. No fireman, no policeman, no judge. You know what I'm saying? No, it's life. These are things that men attach themselves to identify with, to give themselves a purpose. If you can't call yourself a judge, what's your purpose? If you can't say you're a multimillionaire, what's your purpose? If we stay in the same room and nobody tell nobody what they do, we all equal, right? If I don't know how much money you make, it's not gonna bother me. I don't know where you live at. We just in the space together, right? That's what it's about. We're in these spaces together, regardless if we feel that you're not supposed to be here and I'm not supposed to be here. We're in these spaces, all these spaces that we have, we're in this space. Because they say there's a huge world. This is only one small world. This is one small world. It's small because it's for us. That's why it's small. You can go to Thailand tomorrow. I can go behind you and run into you. I didn't even know you was going out there. It's a small world.
Wouldn't that be crazy though?
Right? It would be crazy. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, sir. This is the thing. I was in this facility one time. I ran across this correction officer. This correction officer, he he had a great sense of humor. But anyway, he used to go, to the people that's in prison and tell them, "Oh, you stupid, you got locked up. How you let somebody catch you and lock you up and put you in prison?" And he used to do that all the time. So one day he came to me and he said, "Yeah, I just bought my son that Grand Theft Auto game, And I was like, "You bought him a Grand Theft Auto game?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, you ain't really got to worry about him. He's gonna be in prison too." So he was, he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, because the Grand Theft Auto game is teaching him how to be a murderer." I said, "If he's not strong enough, he's gonna fall subject to it, just like some of these dudes in here, right?" And he was like, "Wow, man, we was talking whatever." He didn't really appreciate it. He didn't like it. Fast forward, I went home a year later and I ran into him, correction officer, him and his family in Port Authority.
Oh no.
And he said, "Oh my God!" I said, "It's all right, brother. Like, we good, man. Everything is all right." And he looked at me, and his family was there, and they was like, and I said to him, I said, "Well, I said, look, you and I was cool. Like, I ain't have a problem with you." I said, "So I'm letting you know it's a small world. Stop causing harm to people because you're a correctional officer.
Hmm.
Stop belittling people because you're a correctional officer. This is a very small world, sir. You never know when you're going to run. So you just ran into me. You never thought you would ever see me again in your life. You just ran into me in Port Authority with your whole family." See, that was a reality check for him, and it helped him. He said, "Oh my God, yo, you're right, man." And he probably was able to channel his life and be able to get more blessings for his life. You know what I'm saying? All I know is this, man. Men could create whatever systems they want to create because they can create. We all have free will. We can do what we want to do. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. No one can stop men from doing the things that they want to do because that's what they want to do, right? But at the end of the day, understand that every system that man creates is also creating against man, which means also creating against himself. So you create whatever you want to create, right? And just like that gun, you create that gun, and that gun could come back around and kill you.
Truth. You're just preaching the truth.
Yeah, so it's just to be careful. My story is basically is you know seeing humanity, and want to be able to live it to the fullest, right? And having all these systems in place and all these different things they have down here that's attacking people and things of that nature and that's strategizing against people and stuff like that does not allow me to know that I can live in peace and I can live freely. Because there's something right there just waiting to snatch me. You know what I mean? If they said that I did something wrong. Or if I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I done got locked up 2 times before for mistaken identity. Many people have got locked up for mistaken identity. And I know people that have been in prison for 5, 10 years for crimes they never committed. Right? So it's just having something there. By having something there, you yourself can be subject to it. Just by being there. Right? It doesn't mean that you actually went out there to do something or you're trying to, be facetious in the land, you're trying to do harm in the land. You might just get in the wrong place at the wrong time. You might just have an argument with a girl. She say, "He slapped me," and you go to jail. Right? It's just that simple. Right? It's just us knowing that we have a right to survive. We have a right to be our best, to know our best, right? And not to be robbed of our lives before we even have it. These systems was here before I was even born. They was waiting for me before I was born. It was already there, waiting for me to get to the age where I could come into these different places and they could feed off of me. They could, when I was in prison, what did I do in prison? I'll tell you what I did in prison. I made soap. I made clothing. And I also made mattresses.
Check you out.
Okay? So the prison has an industry in it, right? Industry. They sell bathtubs and all type of stuff in the industry. Because know it or not, some prisons do have bathtubs.
Crazy.
Okay? So it's just knowing that for me, it's just knowing that I know that I can make a difference. Not in everybody's life. It could just be one person. That's all that matters to me. It doesn't matter. I don't need to have a billion people calling out my name.
Nope.
I'm
It only.
saying that's too much. That's too much noise. I'm gonna go deaf.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you said though, man. It only takes one person to make the
that's
difference.
it. And one person, man, and just seeing what's here, and because if I look at if this if these realities wasn't important, we wouldn't be here to discuss them. We wouldn't be here to address them and to eradicate them. We'd be where we supposed to be at. We wouldn't be here dealing with this madness. You know, we came from somewhere. We didn't come from here. You know what I'm saying? That's just my logic. That's just how I think about life. You know, and to come from where I was at to come here to be mistreated and harmed and strategized against, you know, and not find peace. How do I get back over here? You know, yeah, because you know we want to keep thinking about small potatoes. We want to keep thinking about $5 and $10 and $1,000 and 100,000. You know, that's all that stuff is play stuff that man has made, right? And then he got you all, you know, discombobulated, trying to accumulate all these different things. You know what I mean? Trying to show that you greater than this person because you have these sneakers or you have this hat or all these other weird things that's going on. No, if you want to get these things, you get these things. It's your style, it's your prerogative. But to bring forth, you know, to hurt each other forward, you know, to hurt yourself to get these things, they're not worth it, right? None of these things that we have put in labels on has any meaning. They have no substance on it. The Jordans actually cost $2. They don't cost $500. They cost $2 in China, right? They don't cost $500, right? So it's why we may be going to prison too, the different things that we're seeking to do, you know, what we're seeking to obtain. At the end of the day, those things are not even worth it. They're not worth it. They all decay and they all go back into the ground. Every single thing that you, unless it's you know, even men and women, we decay too, and we also go back into the ground.
Yep, that's why it's written to always focus on the stuff that's above. Never focus
Yeah,
on
you have
material
to,
things.
yeah, you have to like leave these things here, and you know, just because man created something, it doesn't mean he has the right to create it. You see, and it doesn't mean he has the right to leave it there either when he leaves, right? Because the man that created Rikers Island, guess what? He's dead. He's been dead. He's been dead a long time ago. He's not here anymore. It's a whole nother spirit came and took on that task. And that spirit that came behind him and took him on, he probably dead too. Somebody else came and took that on. They done brought this thing down as a legacy, against their legacy. You understand what this means? This is a legacy against a legacy. They're taking life. So you say, oh, I want to make money and I want to be successful, but at what cost? It'd be better to sleep in a cardboard box. You know what I'm saying? To do irreplaceable harm or irreparable harm against yourself, you know, and you just lose everything you have.
Yep, you just want to put good into the world, though.
Yeah, you just want to do what you're supposed to do, and the good you want to put in the world is you. It's you. It's nothing else. There's nothing else here. From what I've been seeing, you know, we have to live on a higher plane. Not we want to, but we have to live on a higher plane because if we don't, we we won't feel the essence of our being. We won't feel our life force. You know, so we have to be able to do this. And I think that one of my missions is actually to help, and I do help other men and women come to certain levels, of understanding about who they are, and what is their rights, what I'm saying, for the life that they have, right? And this society, our rights is to be able to abundantly connect with one another, to be able to channel an energy where, like, it's a scripture that says this real quick, but it says this: it says that if the husband is strong enough, he can save the wife, and if the wife is strong enough, she can save the husband, right? So when you create relationships, one might be, stronger than the other, but the whole point about it is that we're here to protect each other. Like, I don't, I want you to get to the same plane that I got to, right? This is me. Like I don't, I interact with a lot of different leaders. I contact with different leaders, but I'm on a whole different level. Like I think differently in a lot of ways. I'm more metaphysical. I'm more spiritual in how I see this life, and I do have opinions, but some of my opinions are crafted. Some of my opinions are working live models according to the realities that I've experienced, the places that I've gone to, and people that I've rubbed shoulders with, right? So some things you don't have to learn on your own, right? Some things you can learn from other people,
Yeah.
and I believe all these movements that I've been on, going into the nonprofits, the advocacies, being a change agent. I also worked on district attorney platforms. I done worked on other nonprofit platforms and things of that nature, like Vote for New York, Housing Court. I done worked with Housing Court. I done worked with different entities. And every organization that I've ever went into, every action, every movement I ever went into was to save the lives of people that I don't even know. That's it. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm here. If I write an article, it's to save a life. If I make a personal saying, it's to save a life. If I go work at a nonprofit, it's to save a life. If I go on an advocacy platform, it's to save a life. Right? This is what it's for. And it's not only to save their lives, it's also to save mine.
Amen.
We have to exchange energy.
Like, amen, man.
You know what I'm saying? So this is my path. This is my story. This is who I have been becoming. I've been really becoming and coming, into different awarenesses and different realities. And I think for me, is knowing that I do have a purpose,
Yeah.
right?
And you just get started.
And people ask me, "What's your purpose?" Like, break down your organization, and I'll say, my purpose is people. Oh, but how are you going to get paid from them? And this and I said, well, all payment comes, from the universe anyway. So you don't have to. No man has to pay you for anything. You can actually give out every gift you have and still live in abundance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just have to have faith and hope that that you're going to live in abundance, and you will. Right? It's just knowing, that there's a purpose there to save life. That's it. Any movement I'm on or anything I do, people that join forces with me, because I'm going to advocacy tomorrow. We're gonna go do advocacy tomorrow for, I believe, Close Rikers Island. If I'm not too sure, I just got the thing today. Let me see. It's from Darren. It's from Freedom Agenda, right? So another organization fighting. This one here is for tomorrow. I got you. You good now?
Yeah, I can still hear you, but your screen's froze.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Oh no, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're gonna do a 13th Amendment campaign tomorrow, because the 13th Amendment, if you don't know, is basically dealing with servitude, slavery. So advocates are looking to eradicate the 13th Amendment because there are no more slaves in the land. We are no longer slaves. Our ancestors may have been enslaved, but we are not slaves. So there should be no 13th Amendment about slavery because there are no slaves here, right? So these are the things that we want to address. These are the things that we want society to know, that we have a right to live, and we want to, and we're going to live, right? We're going to break through your barriers. We're going to break through your systems. We're going to challenge your norms, right? Because if they go against life, they go against life. No, you can't make something what you want it to be. You can't take a volatile system and make it just. You say, oh, he killed somebody with a gun. Okay. All right. So how did he get the gun? Oh, well, he went and bought it with his license. Who fault was that? Right? This is the government fault too. Right? So it's like they want to take responsibility for themselves, but they are actually creating the tools that actually bring forth all the different levels of death in the community. Police got shot yesterday. Another one got shot the other day, right? You know, it's happening because we have the tools to cause harm, right? We have the tools to bring forth destruction. So why won't we use it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that's what's happening. We have it, and then we just like squander our lives, right? We know you got 32-year-old men that's dying in the streets and 20-year-old men dying in the streets and stuff like that. A 16-year-old got killed the other day in the Bronx, by a stray bullet, things of that nature. And it's really harming society because in New York City, I live in New York, there's so much killings and stuff going on in New York City, but there are no gun factories in New York City and nobody has a gun license. You know what I'm saying? So it just shows you how these systems are getting out of control, and they're really starting to affect our societies as a whole. And people are leaving one community, going to another community to do what? To fester that community too, right? So you just can't jump from one community to the next. You have to actually bring forth the change that you need in your own communities. But we don't, we mess our communities up and then we go to different places, stuff like that. And this is just a life lesson, guys. Hold on. Yeah, we do have.
We gotta wrap
I know
this
we
thing
got to.
up.
We got to wrap this up. We've been around too long. Yeah, we went over. We were just talking. But I know you're gonna edit it.
We've been out for
I know
about
you're gonna.
2 hours, man.
I know. You said it was 2 hours though, but we're gonna edit. I know you're gonna edit it, shorten it down, do what you got to do, work your magic. Because I do the same thing.
Oh, this is
But
all
it was
going.
pretty.
Everybody's seeing this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll probably talk to you later on about the platform you use. I use a different type of platform. But I like the way that this is set up.
But all right, as we begin to wrap this thing up, if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, get a hold of you, how can I do that? How can I reach out to you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Nathaniel Evans. I'm on LinkedIn as Nathaniel Evans. Also have email for my business, amadada.org. So Evans at amadada.org. You also find me through my website, my email. My website is amadada.org too, right? So I have those three. And that's the best way. I mean, I'm also on all social media platforms. I'm on Facebook under Nathaniel Evans. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Tumblr. I'm on all the different social media platforms. You can find me Instagram and stuff like that. And everything is through my name, Nathaniel Evans. So once you pull Nathaniel Evans up, you actually will find me.
All right. I want you guys just want to say simply thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Nathaniel Evans' story. You're just getting a taste of it, really. This is only just the beginning.
It's only the beginning, yeah. It's just icing on the cake, brother. Definitely. But I appreciate it, But I gotta do a podcast tomorrow for somebody. So I really do, yeah. I really do appreciate this. This is really good. I hope we revisit it so we can actually structure it a little more solid next time we talk, and give you some more definitives and things of that nature. But this was a good thing, even to express, the different challenges, the accomplishments, my objectives for my life, my purposes for life. it's a renewal of spirit, you know. So it's really a good thing to actually have this interview.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you for being on. Thank you for accepting my invitation to tell your story. And everybody else, I want you all to have a great night. Peace.